It requires the active, informed participation, the unhampered and comprehensive dissemination of information, the absolute right to express uncoerced opinions, sensitive consideration for minority positions, and crucially, its very essence of principled, gracious conciliation pervading the interaction between those in the community. Unless democracy and the democratic spirit is reflected in our personal attitudes, thoroughly integrated into our lifestyle, philosophy or ethic, call it what you will, you'll be unable to function effectively as an acceptable arbiter of social disputes without the resort to some overriding authority. The proper practice of democracy is never easy, and learning to get it right, or as right as possible, requires and will require time and practice. It is a deep learning experience for free and therefore potentially awkward individuals. But whatever its complexities, socialism and democracy are indivisible. So it's common ownership, production for use, true democracy, but no leaders. Sadly, the idea that Homo sapiens could coexist harmoniously without any kind of leaders or government, not to be confused with the essential administration of things, is also dismissed as almost impossible. When I was finished on this, I see I've got a few minutes. So many have had the confidence and self-belief seriously undermined by the authoritarian and exploitative system in which we live, that they seek security in conformity. A few make decisions and the rest are required to obey. Drawn into this comforting and dangerous illusion, the vast majority choose not to question the situation too strenuously. In their anxiety not to be seen as different or difficult, imbued with a genuine concern about losing their jobs, they substantially suppress the shared human capacity to be free, discriminating, sympathetic, cooperative, but dynamic human beings. Those who do not conform are quickly labelled cranks, troublemakers, rebels, freaks or fools, or in my case, a senile fool. Instead, they remain the generally nice, kind, malleable citizen, so beloved of politicians and leaders. The vast amounts of information directly affecting our lives, sometimes dramatically so, is kept secret because our leaders think they know best. I've got to finish in a few moments, but I want to tell you this little story, another true story, about the way in which some people give absolute, unquestioned devotion to their leaders, even in this day and age. A few elections ago, when I was working in Lewisham, I went across to the Labour Party office. And there I saw the Labour Party woman worker, activist. And when I pointed out one or two of their broken promises and a few of their double dealings, she said, "Ah, yeah, that's what they all say, but that was before. Now," she said, "now we've got Tony Blair." All that was before. Now we've got Tony Blair. Oh, right, so I said, what does he believe then? Well, that's what I'm waiting to find out. But we have got one member, one vote. And those of us with long memories doubtless recall the Machiavellian reasons for that particular decision. And here's a clue. It was not in the interests of Labour Party democracy. Anyway, I've got to shut up now. I've got a few more things to say, but I won't. All I will say to end is that human beings possess amazing potential, and it can only truly be reached by embracing the stunning, exciting principle of common ownership and an ungoverned society of free, independent, cooperative inhabitants. And that is what socialists stand for.
10 or so minutes to respond, and then Richard will take a further 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Richard, I respect you very much, but I have to say I was slightly disappointed there, because I think much of what you were saying was a caricature of the reality and indeed of my own position. And I think that you were falling into the error which I said at the beginning I hoped we wouldn't fall into. Sorry, am I not talking loud enough? Just say it more. Which I hope we wouldn't fall into, of comparing our own bright theory with the other person's reality. And I feel that you were doing that. We were having we found a lot of upbeat talk about the socialist society which you had in mind and how liberating and that will be, compared to, well, the Duke of Westminster is not right now. The Duke of Westminster is lost in history, and there's ages of law and all the rest of it, which contributes to that man being so fabulously wealthy, in my judgment, rather unjustly. You know, so you can't do that. You can't compare a theory on one side and the practice on the other. I'm very willing to argue either, but you can't argue one against the other. But you made so many points, I don't know how many I can get through in 10 minutes. I counted about 15 or 16 different points there. Some of them I would like to address. I mean, you started by saying that the capitalist system you felt was oppressive. Now, in some ways, people say that, and they think they're big businesses and they control everything and all the rest of it. The opposite is true, or certainly the opposite ought to be true if we have a proper capitalist system which is based on open competition. Because in a competitive environment, what gets produced is what people want. It is what the customers want. If you produce something and nobody wants to buy it, well, you haven't made a profit, so forget about the profit motive, you failed. Consumers are sovereign. Now, in the real world, yeah, you're absolutely right. I see that. Yes, I know what you're saying. In the real world, of course, you mentioned banking. Consumers definitely aren't sovereign. And why is that? Because there's so much bloody regulation on banks. They're regulated to within an inch of their lives. They're regulated as to, how long they can let the phone ring before they can pick it up. Literally. And regulation is expensive. And that means that new entrants can't come into that market. New banks, it's very difficult to open up a new bank. It costs you something like, some banker was telling me 30 million quid to get a banking license in this country, because that's all the amount of hoops that you've got to go through. And then you've got to have all your compliance people to make sure that you tick all the boxes. Which means that, of course, you don't get enough competition. You don't get enough new people coming in with new ideas and new ways of doing things, better ways of doing things. So that customers have a real choice. And in the banking crisis just recently, the government merged banks and forced banks to merge, so we've got even fewer banks. We need more. and we need more of many other industries as well. One can think of utilities and so on. There isn't enough competition. And if you have a market as I envisage, then you would have much more competition, and consumers would genuinely be sovereign, because if they didn't like what they're getting from one supplier, they can go to another. And the first supplier will go bust, and the second supplier will pick up those jobs and that profit, and that will steer